mean, that's it. That's the end. I just can't take it anymore. Okay, sorry for all the drama, but really, this is the end. This is the end of something that has been going on for a long time, and the beginning of a thing that is new and yet undefined. My world is ending, but if you're anything like me, that's nothing new, because who we are and the worlds that we live in change from time to time, from week to week, from era to era. But quite literally, this coming week, my world, as I've known it for quite some time, is coming to an end. This time next week, I'm going to have left city life, city living, all I've pretty much known my entire existence, and move to my new cottagecore life in the countryside. And with it is coming some really huge change in perspectives on me, what I want from life, how I'm living, how I'm existing, how I'm presenting myself to the world, and my identity overall. Because so much of my life has been in the space of being an overachiever. How can I maximize my impact? How can I be the biggest part of things? So I've always lived in cities like Chicago, Los Angeles, DC. It's because I always wanted to be someplace where things were happening. I always wanted to be in the milieu and in the thick of things. And now my neighbor are deer. I am surrounded by woods on all sides. There are farms and cows just a short walk away. And don't get me wrong, that's awesome, that's what I've been looking for, but it's also making me reconstitute who I think I am. Like, if I'm not this overachieving, hoping to be somebody in society, then who do I get to be? And I think that's a really fascinating question. To be given the opportunity to step outside of the way we've been living life and saying, hey, I'm entering something different, I can choose differently. I remember hearing a story about one of the alumnus of my school, Northwestern University, Stephen Colbert, that when he was on the plane ride to Chicago, Illinois to start school, the person sitting next to him said, wow, you know, this is a really great change of life for you. You can show up and be whoever you want. And when he showed up on Evanston's campus, he said, my name is Stephen Colbert, whereas before he'd always been Stephen Colbert. It's a small example, but when we enter a new space, identity shifts and grows. And when we enter a really new space, like moving to the country, that opportunity for growth rises exponentially. I think it's no mistake that Shakespeare, in most of his plays, has this element of the forest. Sometimes literal, sometimes proverbial, and in fact, this takes place in most stories we even see nowadays. That characters start off in the world of men, life is as usual, they enter the woods, and in the woods exists fairies and danger and pirates and dethroned kings, and people change in the woods. And then by Act 5, they come back to the place they started, a new and different person. And so for myself, leaving the trappings of society, leaving places where I walk down the street and I have dozens and dozens of people who expect me to conform to a particular sort of aesthetic or way of acting or way of being, there's many sacrifices we make to our identity without even realizing it because of the culture to which we belong. And so now I find myself leaving this world and getting to choose anew and getting to choose in a way that feels more authentic, more wild, more feral, more intrinsically aligned with who I am. And what a unique and stellar gift that is. But it's also a big challenge because our identities are carefully constructed things that have evolved over decades, over many traumas and experiences and experiments. To suddenly say I can and am going to be somebody totally different. The things that matter to me no longer come into play. That's harrowing. And so I find myself saying goodbye to the life I've been living and saying, who do I really want to be? If no one sees me, if no one cares how I act or dress or what I do with my day, how would I choose? It's silly, but one of the things I told my husband is when we move out to the country, I'm gonna start wearing kilts. Like, I think it's fun and audacious and gender bending and also hyper masculine to wear like a modern kilt. And also a lot more fun to have your bits just hanging out there, partially exposed. And now that I live in the countryside where, you know, no one even is really gonna run into me that often, fuck yeah, why not? Maybe I'll grow out my beard super massive and, I don't know, wear gauntlets or leather bracers and start to act more like a Viking. Could be. Maybe I'll give up on my type A hyper-productive personality and instead exist in a state of being. Maybe I'll embrace that cottagey, cottagecore lifestyle and say, just being a part of nature and baking bread and writing stories and listening to and creating music. Maybe that becomes my life. Because for so long I wanted to be successful. For so long I wanted to be esteemed by society. But now society's gone. Now it's just me and my dog and my cat and my husband, some neighbors, not too close, Now, you might not be given the opportunity to totally step outside of the world you know and move someplace totally different. But if you were given the choice to be whoever you felt called to be, regardless of what anybody thought about you, what and who would you choose? Who would you play at being? Because this is just a big game, all of it. Life. We play roles, we make choices, but none of it is really us, none of it is permanent. It's all just a facade that we are playing day after day. So I invite you to sit with me for a moment. Close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, and tune into you. Who are you? Who are you deep down at your core? If you could be the most wild, most ecstatic version of you, who would that be? Can you let go of who your parents and your neighbors and your friends and your teachers say that you're supposed to be? Can you find who you really are? Can you find an inner voice that directs you to your greatest state of well-being? Listen to your breath, watch yourself breathe, and go into the center of your chest, the Anahata chakra, the seat of the soul, and see if you can find the reality of you. Let yourself be strange. Let yourself be wild. Let yourself be untamed and feral and crazy and all the things you ever dreamed of when you were a little kid. Find that freedom. Find the truth of you. I'm Kay, this is Ecstatic Self. Every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, I lead a meditation class here on YouTube Live. Please come join me if you feel so called to do a little more work on self-exploration. And if you haven't already, please consider checking out my book, Journey to the Ecstatic Self. It's available online, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever books are sold. Or consider working with me one-on-one through live coaching, ecstaticself.com. It's a pleasure to be here and ponder some mysteries of life with you.